My biggest thing for that scene is they walk in, you see the 13 skeletons and the one not having a skull, and she walks in there, it's like, it's a hive mind, 13 physically separate beings with one unified consciousness. They're greater as a whole than they are separate. And I'm like, how the do you know that? Where was that written?
Yeah.
Like, all that we've learned up until this point, they taught them farming, irrigation, probably gave them some technology, formed a little key trap thing.
Yeah.
Do you know that you walk? It's a hive. Shut the up. How you're spouting off bullshit. Welcome to A Cast with No Name. We are your hosts. I'm Jay.
And I'm Matt.
This is episode 59. This episode, we discuss the 2008 action-adventure film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, that's about right. It sums it up.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Don't forget to visit our website at castwithnoname.com. You can listen to all the episodes, visit our YouTube, links there, all that stuff. Rank us or like us on...
Please.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, give us some feedback. What do you think?
Yeah. Do we suck? How hard do we suck?
I think you're talking about this movie, Jay.
Oh, this... So... What do you think about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
I didn't like it. I didn't like it when I saw it, and I haven't seen it since theaters.
Oh, so you only saw it the one time?
I saw it the one time. I remember not liking it at all, and then watching it again just made it worse. It just made it worse.
It's like a sword. You just keep picking at it.
Well, and obviously, I watched it after the first three, so it just kind of intensified my displeasure of it all.
Yeah.
The whole experience. So I think it goes without saying you didn't like it.
I really wanted to. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just
I don't hate it either.
It's just
in comparison to the other three, it's like not good.
Yeah, and I had a feeling because during the rewatch I went into it and I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna find what I like about this.
Yeah.
Like, because at least I wanted to try and figure out what didn't work. Because it's not. I mean, a lot of people don't like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little it's off. And there's a couple things that I found that I think that just don't work well with these types of movies. But I remember when it came out, I was looking forward to it. It was, but similar to Dial of Destiny, it wasn't getting good.
Mm-hmm.
Buzz before it came out.
Yeah.
And of course I was like, well, maybe people just suck or something like that, or whatever. And I watched it and it was fine. I mean, I guess what are some? Well, let's. Hopefully, you guys watch this. If not, if you didn't rewatch it, well, it starts off with a CGI gopher or prairie dog.
Yeah,
and going from the Paramount logo to the
gopher mound?
The prairie dog. Yeah, gopher.
Is it a prairie
mound.
dog?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter. It's a rodent.
Yeah, burrows in the ground.
Yeah,
coming up like a turd.
Yep.
But what? I guess top of your head.
Yeah, the number one gripe I have with this movie is too much CGI.
Yeah,
it sets it. I just don't. I'm not invested in this. There's no weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's all I can tell. Everyone's on a green screen. Even the physics of the stunts, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. A
lot of stuff just explodes out of nowhere, and there's no impact on the vehicle that created the collision. You can tell everything is on a green screen, and everything is digitized, and it just doesn't have the same weight to it. That's my biggest gripe with the movie. It feels fake.
Yeah.
But the first three don't feel fake.
And it's. I mean, I think they said there's like 30% of the shots had computer and had enhancements or was digitally made.
Yeah.
And, of course, this came out in 2008. almost 20 years since Last Crusade, and Harrison Ford, I think, was 64 at the time. His character was 58. Yeah, it takes place in 57. He was born in 1899, so he was 58. Yeah, the like the jungle scene. Watching that was actually shot in a jungle. They were in Hawaii, but they had like everything has a mist or a dust in front of it, and I know why they do that. They do that because when you composite digital shots, you typically want it either in the background, or if you have it in the foreground, it needs to be very, very crisp and clear.
Right.
And you play with when you composite, you also want to play with the focus of the shot, depending on how far, like what the focal length is. You want to make sure it matches the focal length of the lens, so that way it kind of blends into the scenery more. But with like the jungle scene, they shot it in the jungle, but they had a lot of road to work with, and like for the vehicles to travel down, which is the smoothest jungle I've ever seen people drive down, to where, no jostling or anything. Like I go on those rumble strips on the side of the road when I fall asleep and I drive, as one does. And it's
very safe, Jay.
A little bumpy.
After you've had your fifth of Jack?
Yeah, fifth of Jack, and I'm just cruising the streets. And or you drive on a cement road. Cement roads are like on the interstate or something, a little bit more bumpy than what the jungle was. But
it's as smooth as a baby's ass.
Yeah, but they threw in more foliage and trees and shit like that to make it look faster and stuff like that. But then the result of that is, if it doesn't get covered up by motion blur, as far as the compositing, and you need to blend it in more, the easiest trick is to add dust or some kind of particle, like fog or mist or something, to kind of put over the hard seam lines of what was caught in camera versus what is put in there by computers. And it just leaves everything with like this just weird dust that doesn't react to the physics of the moving vehicles and the motion that's going through and the wind and everything else. And now you may not notice it when you're looking at it, but your head will pick up on it, and it'll just read as fake to you. And
it reminded me of like a Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah,
a lot of the shot, I'm like, this is just not good.
Yeah,
it doesn't look even remotely real.
And I don't like that log cutting thing. That forest cutter. I don't know if those existed back then or not. It sure as shit didn't look real.
No.
Like if someone showed me that, like today, I'd be like, that's a fucking joke. Like who would design that? And the speed at which they were going through, they would not be cutting through trees like butter. Like that shit. I don't know. I'm not a logman, a woodsman.
A woodsman? A lumberjack?
Yeah. Tree feller. I'm not
a tree feller.
Yeah, they fell trees. They
right. I see what you did there.
I'm not.
You're so good with words.
So maybe those exist, but it just doesn't.
Yeah,
didn't hit.
And I remember watching it and thinking that, like, why, like the whole scene with Mutt Williams, Shia LaBeouf's character, swinging through the jungle with monkeys. I'm like, why did they even do that? What's the point? I think it's because they realized that it looks fake. So why not add a scene with Shia LaBeouf swinging through the jungle with monkeys? Because it kind of fits in with the whole tone of the movie anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's
the dumbest scene out of all of the Indiana Jones movies. But we'll see when we watch the new one.
I don't know why it was in there. Tonally, this movie just felt off. I remember the first time I saw it. The openings. I mean, first off, like all the, I guess, Bondisms they had in these movies, I felt like they just threw out the window in this.
Yeah.
The cold open, if you will, leads directly into the main storyline.
Yeah.
So there's no side adventure that he was a part of.
Yeah. Well, it's teenagers listening to Hound Dog.
Yeah.
Drag racing with some army guys. So you're in the 50s, right?
Yep. And which was a callback to like American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And that which is that didn't bother me. The nuking the fridge didn't bother me. But the first time I saw it, I was kind of getting excited because it was bringing Indiana Jones into a new era. And what I felt, the shot that I felt that they were kind of going to build on and kind of be the theme of the movie was they set off the nuclear blast. He hops in the fridge. Fridge gets flown for 500 miles, and he comes out of the fridge and climbs up the hill, and then you see that
Mushroom cloud,
which I love that shot.
It's a good shot.
And what I thought was going to be one of the main themes of the movie was Indiana Jones is now living in an era where human technology is just as devastating and powerful as the mystical artifacts that he has hunted in the past. Mm-hmm. So all the supernatural, all the religious, pretty much the power of God is now in the hands of humans. And I thought that this movie was going to kind of play off or expand on that to where he would be more of a, not out of place, but just kind of over his head with a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. To where maybe he would be an adventurer that he's just not
as useful
or maybe equipped. I don't want to say antiquated because obviously it's his adventure and they didn't do that, but I just thought that they were going to kind of touch on that because I thought that was a great opening shot and just kind of look at the power that humans have been able to create.
Right.
And then you think back to his adventures, and I thought it was going to be more of a nuclear story or something to that effect or something like that. But
I was surprised, Jay, watching this. I remember everyone giving shit that why aliens, and everyone's just piling on Shia LaBeouf and his performance and how awful he was. And I didn't feel that at all, both of those aspects. Mm-hmm. I understand why they went the alien direction, and it really didn't bother me. Mm-hmm. Honestly, because it's in the 50s. That's the whole era of UFOs, and it made perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And even the artifact itself, the crystal skull, and then the ultimate ending when the alien comes to life, that didn't bother me either. And even Shia LaBeouf's performance didn't bother me at all. I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I thought he was fine too.
Yeah, he did a really good job. I just thought the story itself was just uneven, and the relation, when Karen Allen is I don't know what they did to her, but they made her she had more I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Recklessness?
Yes, recklessness and resolve. I felt like she just went through the motions. She was kind of just reacting, didn't really have anything to do other than to just react to the situation, mm-hmm. rather than just have her own agency, I guess.
Yeah, which
for lack of a better word.
And I think the fault of that is, one of the main things I think that this movie suffers from is there's too many people tagging along.
Yeah.
You have.
I hated Mac. I didn't understand what I'm what's the purpose? And they even referenced it. It was self-awareness where he's like, "What? So you a triple agent now?" And I'm like, "Oh, so they're shitting on their own character." Yeah. It's this is dumb. This is ridiculous.
They had too many people. So you had Mac, who, he's just the guy that
screws them over.
Yeah, multiple times. But you have Indian Mutt, Mac. And then you have Marion, and then you have Oxley.
Yeah.
So you have 5 people all hanging out. John Hurt's character, I think they could have just, I don't know.
Did they need?
No, they didn't.
Right. And yeah, they could have just removed him.
He's a normal person at the end after they combine the crystal skull, but I didn't care about him. Because we weren't introduced to him before. If it was like Abner Ravenwood,
yeah,
sure, that's someone we've heard of, especially with Marion involved.
It's funny you say that because when I watched this, I thought that was Abner Ravenwood.
See, first
I
time
thought-
I
I was
saw
like,
it, I was like,
That's Abner Ravenwood, right? Oh no, this is a different guy. I'm like,
that's
that
what I
doesn't
thought
make
it
any
was supposed
sense.
to be. And I was like, why do they keep calling him Ox? I was like, that's not fucking. They didn't bring in Abner. I was like, why isn't Abner Ravenwood?
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of is
Did they say he died or something in one of the previous movies? I don't know.
I don't know, and I don't know if he was. I think. Oh wait. We're awesome critics.
Are
I think
we?
he might. I think they
Did he
might have
die?
said that he died in
Shit.
Raiders or
There we
something.
go.
I don't know, but
Well, he should.
I don't know that for sure. If he's not dead, they should have had Abner Ravenwood. And if he's not dead and they chose not to have him in there, I imagine it would have been to maintain the surprise of Mutt being Indy's son.
I think
which
you knew that right off the bat.
I think everyone knew that before
Yeah.
even going to see the movie.
Yeah.
And so I think they should have, if they should have had anybody in there, it should have been Abner Ravenwood, because then it would have been Indy's family.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they wanted to go that route. I think, too many people, and too many people you don't care about. Like Oxley didn't care about. Mutt. I mean, Shia LaBeouf did fine playing the character that was written.
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, like a young Indy. Oh, calls him old man.
Yeah.
And they originally his character was supposed to be a daughter.
Okay.
Like I think like a 12 or 13-year-old daughter for Indy.
All right.
And this is earlier in the drafts, like back in the 90s when they started writing this. And Steven Spielberg chose not to go that route because he felt like it was too similar to The Lost World. And I get it at the time. Maybe Lost World was more in people's minds, but that Jurassic Park 3, like, it's not the first Jurassic Park, so it's no one. I don't think anyone would have made those comparisons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now maybe the relationship in the script was similar, but it was going to be a daughter, and she was going to kind of be more studious, and then they changed it to a son, and originally Mutt was going to be like nerdy and everything, which I think might have worked better. But then again, maybe they chose not to do that because it would have been too similar to Indy carrying his father through the adventure and everything else. But it's those relationships I feel like is the main reason the movie doesn't work, because there's no stakes. You're not invested really in the characters. You're invested in Indy, but you know he's going to live.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, I know at the time they were probably thinking, oh, we could have a spinoff of like Mutt Williams' Adventures.
Yeah.
Which, great name for, like, it's a really good name for
Yeah.
like the Adventures of Mutt Williams. And I mean, it sounds like an Indiana Jones
Yeah.
spinoff.
Yeah.
And they did a great job with the name. But like him caring about his motorcycle, and then him playing with his knife, and instead of having a hat, he's got his comb. And
Yeah. Look at you, you're like a marketer.
they,
God, put the comb in there. Yeah, put the comb in there.
yeah, it's like a greasy
Get the knife.
style.
He's like a greaser.
Yeah,
I do like that scene in the diner, though.
yeah.
Like, get that dirty greaser.
They pull back, like you just see like the preppies and the greasers, and
That made me
I
laugh.
like that. But the biggest thing I think is probably those relationships. The second biggest thing is the action scenes.
They're awful.
Yeah,
They're so
They're-
bad.
because when Marion drives the aquatic vehicle
Yeah.
off the cliff, lands on the tree, and the tree kind of slowly goes down and then drops him in the water, and the tree snapbacks and like hits people off a cliff. I was like, that's a fucking cartoon.
Yeah, I know.
Not just visually, but just the physics of it.
Yeah.
And it's a gag. It's like something I would see in Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, people like, and I immediately thought of the bridge scene. I was like, the stakes of that were nuts. Like,
Yeah.
they thought they were going, like, that was their only option.
Yep.
Was, well, I hope we can hang on because if not, we're gonna die. But this is our only option.
Right. And the physics were real because they collapsed an actual
fucking bridge.
Right? And they filmed it. Yeah.
And granted, safety rules,
Sure,
unions,
sure.
all that. You can't do that stuff anymore. But there's ways you can go about it to making, I feel like, look real. And I think part of it, over the top, the action, the stunt coordinator, different stunt coordinator than the first three.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that worked on the first three movies, he was doing The Mummy. Emperor's Tomb or something like that.
The third one?
The third one.
Tomb of the
Dragon Emperor or something. I don't know,
Tomb of the
something.
Chinese dude.
Jet Li is his name.
Sorry.
He's a national treasure.
He is.
I think
Never
China.
ages.
Well, he does now. Sadly.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's.
Did I just touch on on a nerve?
It's sad.
Oh man,
Yeah.
jeez. Oh, my
I mean,
bad.
he's fine. I just think I think he has some kind of immune condition or something.
Gotcha.
And but yeah, he aged like it was like he was in the Expendables Part 2, and then it was like a year later he was in public, and I was like, holy shit! And he's like, I'm fine, I'm healthy. It's just, of course, I mean, he was old in Expendables, but they probably just dyed his hair jet black. But yeah,
Probably.
But
going to a special.
feel good
place.
about yourself.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the same stunt coordinator. In the cinematography, everything looked blown out.
Yeah.
Like overexposed. Like everything had a shimmer or a shine or something. Like
yeah.
it looked too glossy.
Yes.
Like everyone, like Kate Blanchett, I think did a fine job.
Yeah.
She looked like a doll. Like everyone looked
like a porcelain doll.
Yeah, everyone looked fake. Like they had like a snap filter or something on.
Yeah, like a Snapchat filter.
And they it's
Yeah, you're right.
It lost the Indy was dirty at the beginning. Mutt gets dirty in the jungle, but I mean when you think back to Temple of Doom and Raiders and a little bit even Last Crusade, people are sweaty.
Yeah.
And like you see the sweat stains on their shirts, and like you can feel the heat, and you can just or the mugginess. Like he's walking in Hawaii at the beginning of Raiders, and everyone's just drenched, and because it's hot and it's humid, they're in a jungle. They shot in the same Hawaii, and everyone's just.
Yep.
Oh, we're driving along. Oh,
Yeah.
my son's in a sword fight.
It's like the Jungle Cruise.
Oh, watch your footing.
Yeah.
And like. That's your son. Like,
Yeah.
I
Who happens to know how to sword fight, by the way?
yeah, have some urgency
Yeah.
in the situation. And I feel like everyone, and maybe it was on purpose, but there was, and I think that was just a lack of stakes. Like no one felt like, I didn't feel like anyone was taking it seriously. And I'm not their jobs, but just their characters in the situation.
Yeah.
It felt like they weren't taking it seriously. And
Yeah, they acted like everything was going to be fine.
mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
Which goes back to my point. Like, why would you put a scene in there where he's swinging from trees with monkeys?
yeah.
It's because they knew, well, come on, guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's a fun caper.
Yep.
It's a Saturday morning cartoon.
And and I think that those things I think have a lot to do with it. And it just kind of combines into one thing. It just comes off as weird.
I didn't like how quickly when Marion was reintroduced and Indy finds out that Mutt's his son, how just like there was no reflection on what the information that they just all found out.
Yep.
Like, oh, just be fine with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, now make a joke, Indy.
Yeah.
Like,
oh,
you
come
go
on,
to school,
son.
young
yeah,
man.
You're going to school.
Like,
I'm your
what?
father. And they're like, fuck off, dude.
I know, this
like,
is weird. Like,
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense.
And yeah, all of a sudden he knows how to be a father, like just out of nowhere.
So David Kep wrote the screenplay. So
Yep.
it's like, oh, this is where we can interject some humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like humor doesn't come out of a revelation like that. If anything, it's like confusion and resentment. If anything, it's stupid.
Yeah, and I think if they wanted to have Indy have a son or daughter, I think it would have played better if one, it was just the two of them, or you could still introduce Marion at the halfway point, but have her have a purpose. So
Right.
so say if they kept Mutt being nerdy, like he was more studious, but he took fencing in school.
Right.
Just because he went to some preparatory
Sure.
school in England.
Give some sort of explanation.
Yeah, and to where, but have Marion be overprotective
Right.
of Mutt. Not be, watch your footing, and to where Mutt's whole thing, because you could have him be a nerd. He runs into Indy because he wants to help his mother, but he is incapable of being on his own. He's not as self-reliant as his father. And so he goes, he seeks out Indy, and you could either say, like, he could either reveal it to him, or he could do whatever. It doesn't, like, the reveal doesn't have to be a surprise. Because you could even have the cold open be something completely arbitrary, but maybe it's Marion and Indy. I mean, this is before de-aging and everything, but maybe it was something kind of alluding to the fact that he may have a son, and then he meets a son, so or daughter, but he's more studious, he's more reserved, he's not self-sure, and then you have that be his arc to where he becomes a little bit self-reliant because he is exposed to his father, or takes cues from his father.
Right. Yep.
You have Marion learning to let go. And then at the same time, so that would be her mini arc. And then you could have Indy learning to become a father.
Yeah.
To where at the beginning, he just doesn't know how to, he doesn't know how to cope. And so the journey throughout the movie for him is just learning how to be a father. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's a little bit more standoffish, to where Marion learns to let go and Indy learns to accept and love, like his son. So I feel like that could have, like, they all three that way could have had a little bit better arcs. Granted, I mean, all this has just occurred to me, but I've had the benefit of seeing this for 10 years or 15 years now that this movie's been out. But I feel like something like that would have been a little bit better. You leave out Oxley, you leave out Mac, and you still probably could have had the Crystal Skull thing. Yeah.
I don't think you needed Oxley.
No, you don't. And he
doesn't present any piece of information that they couldn't have figured out themselves.
Yeah, or had written down on a book or a parchment or on a wall or something.
Like when they go to the temple, I don't even know what the temple was, but with all like the indigenous people there, they're attacking them, and they're like, "How'd you get out of here last time, Ox?" I'm like, I don't know, the skull that saved you from all the flesh-eating ants.
Yeah.
Like when you just held it out there. I'm sure that's probably how we got through this, guys. It was just so dumb. And back to like how you could have rewritten this. I think, like, do you even need to have the arc of like, oh, this Indy has a son? Maybe Shia LaBeouf's character is like an apprentice of Indy, and they go on a nice little adventure together. Yeah. You can still have Marion in there. Mm-hmm. Maybe introduce her like Julianne Moore in Lost World. Like, she went off on an expedition in search of the same thing that you happen to be searching for right now, and the Russians have her captive too, and then you introduce her that way.
Yeah.
And then dive into just the Indy and Marion relationship and not have the son there to... It's like an extra weight that you have to explain away.
Sure. Yep.
You don't need that. So you could... I don't know. You could have... There's alternate ways that they could have gone that... This way was just dumb. Yeah. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, and... yeah, and I'm not... Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe they played around with different things. They were probably... I would imagine they were probably just in their own heads thinking, well, we can't have it too much like Last Crusade because...
You need to get that shit out of your head.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why people like that stuff. Yeah. I didn't like when Mutt and Indy are in that first burial site, and there's just indigenous people there waiting. I'm like, wait, they're just waiting here?
Yeah.
Like, all the time?
Like, why?
Like, why are you just waiting here?
Just hanging out? Or the people like in the temple at the end?
Yeah. Like,
and they just come out of the wall?
So you're just sitting there?
They're just fucking sitting there waiting? It's like, Jesus.
It doesn't make...
Like, how they get it, like, every morning they wake up to get their coffee, and then they're like, oh, all right, got to put
like
myself on the wall again.
Someone convinced Spielberg, like, wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
If they came out of the wall?
Yeah.
Someone was like, well, wait, so that means they're just sitting there?
Yeah.
Like
what's the
every
reason?
day?
Why are they in there? Like, why can't they just be in the temple?
Right. Like they live there.
Yeah. Like, I feel like that would have been funnier to where, like, they go down this trap thing, and then they go through this big open room, and then there's just a shit ton of guys there.
Yes.
They're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Something.
But
He's like, well, they didn't have to explain it in Lord of the Rings. The orcs just come out of everywhere.
yeah, they're fucking creatures too.
Yeah.
They're like goblins.
They're mythical.
You mean the creatures that live in caves? Yeah, they came out of the caves. Wow.
Yeah. That's where they live. Yeah. And then at the end, you have the face melting scene, like the heart, grabbing the heart scene, and then Walter Donovan, aging rapidly in Last Crusade, and then what's her name? Irina Spalko, Kate Blanchett's character.
Eyes
like how
explode.
she biffed it was so anticlimactic and dumb, and it's like, I want to know. They were talking about like all the knowledge and stuff, and I thought that would have been more. There's been a better payoff other than just like skulls merging and then all these blurry lines going into Kate representing all this massive knowledge she's getting. She just disintegrates, and just stupid. It was not good.
My biggest thing for that scene is they walk in, you see the 13 skeletons and the one not having a skull, and she walks in there. It's like, it's a hive mind, 13 physically separate beings with one unified consciousness. They're greater as a whole than they are separate. And I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? Where was that written?
Yeah.
Like, all that we've learned up until this point, they taught them farming, irrigation, probably gave them some technology, formed the little key trap thing.
Yeah.
The fuck do you know that you walk? It's a hive. Shut the fuck up. How you're spouting off bullshit like you don't know what you're talking about. And because that information is coming from nowhere. Plus, it doesn't add to anything. Like, they could have just completely removed that line, and it would have been perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Like, I would not have been sitting there, I wonder if it's a hive mind. Because that would never cross my mind.
Yeah.
As far as being
You're right.
Like, it's just stupid.
It's a fill in the gap thing, like, oh, we have to explain that somehow, because we didn't really explain it, 2 hours into this movie, so we have to have her say something about it.
You don't have to explain shit.
Right, you don't have to say anything.
Just leave it. And, because, I mean, I guess they're technically not aliens, they're interdimensional beings. Okay.
It's between the space in between spaces.
Yeah.
Like, so it's a space?
Yeah. So it's like...
So it's a space.
It's like over there.
Who wrote this?
David Coop. A lot of people wrote this.
Oh, really? So it wasn't just him?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, they've been working on this since the 90s. They,
oh, boy.
God.
Oh, boy.
They had some pretty good names. But so M. Night Shyamalan was brought on to write a draft.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he actually touched it, though.
Okay.
You had Frank Darabont came on, and when he wrote it, it was called City of Gods, I think. I don't know. Yeah, like City of Gods, and then it was like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Then George Lucas wanted Kingdom in there, and then
doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
you know what we need? We need Kingdom in there. God, George, you're a genius.
Give it some gravitas. So yeah, City of Gods, Indiana Jones and the Destroyer of Worlds. Indiana Jones and the Atomic Ants.
The Atomic Ants?
Yeah. So you knew that those ants were going to go away.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think, they had several different people, like, go into it. But George Lucas had this idea for the Crystal Skull thing, like, I think way back during the TV show with Sean Patrick Flannery, The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones.
Uh-huh, yeah.
It was going to be an episode on that show. Because, I mean, the Crystal Skull is a thing. They're not elongated like they are in the movie or whatever, but I think there's like a couple of them or something like that. And people are like, oh, how'd they make them? I'm like, probably rubbing crystal with a fucking cloth or sandpaper.
You know what else they didn't have in this movie?
What's that?
No booby traps.
Yep.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah.
So stupid.
They had a key thing that everyone kind of knocked stand out of, and I guess
So
the
dumb.
stairs, but that's not worth it.
Oh yeah, and then to enter the final room, they're like, "What do we do?" Oh, I don't know. Put the skull out again and just press it up against the wall. You've been doing that up to this point. Just bust the skull out. It's the skeleton key to everything in this movie.
Yeah, it didn't. Ugh.
It's so lazily written.
It
sucks.
And well, it feels like 5 people wrote it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Steven Spielberg actually came out after, like years after, because it wasn't during the press junket
Sure.
of Shia LaBeouf
Yeah,
shitting on this movie and then
like,
getting fucking blackballed by fucking Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Which I get it. He was young, and I mean, I think Harrison Ford called him a fucking idiot. He's like, because you're supposed to sell them. You're supposed to promote the movie.
Sell it. Yeah, you gotta sell it. He's
but,
not wrong.
Yeah, and he wasn't wrong, and I think I don't know. I would not be disappointed if Shia LaBeouf was in the next one. I don't think he is, but
yeah.
I wouldn't be disappointed if they brought him back.
Yeah,
because I think it's like he wasn't wrong.
I mean, and Shia LaBeouf's a good actor.
Yeah,
he really is. I don't know why people give him so much shit. It's because he is, kind of weird.
Yeah,
but I mean, he's a really good actor.
Yeah. But even Steven Spielberg said he wasn't a fan of the MacGuffin, the Crystal Skull thing for this movie. But he's like, well, George was really into it. He's like, I was going to direct his vision like I have for all the other 3. So he's like, and he's my best friend, so I'm not gonna say no or whatever.
Right.
He should have said no.
That's a good quality. I mean, I get it. And it's not to shit on all the people who worked on the movie. I'm sure they worked really hard. God, but it always comes down to the script.
Yeah.
Is the story good?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how hard you work. If that's not there, then it's going to be a shit movie.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, well, just a little bit more trivia. The refrigerator and the nuclear bomb thing.
The lead line one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guess where that concept came from?
George Lucas?
The initial draft of Back to the Future.
Really?
Yeah. Because originally, instead of a DeLorean, it was going to be the time machine was going to be a refrigerator, but then the Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale were like, well, we don't want a bunch of fucking kids trapping themselves in the refrigerator and killing themselves, so let's make it into a car.
Good choice.
But that was actually the climax of the original screenplay and even had shots because you could go if you go to the making of the Back to the Future, the storyboards look very similar to the Atomic City or Atomic Cafe area with all the houses and everything else, and then you have that big oil rig thing
that drops the bomb.
But the way he was going to originally get back to 1985 was he was going to be in the refrigerator, and they were going to ride the
shockwave,
atomic shockwave into the future or something, because that would generate the power to power the refrigerator. And so they were going to drive the refrigerator there, and then it would just instead of a 1.21 gigawatts of lightning, it would be the nuclear bomb.
Interesting.
So that was taken from that, but I'm
glad they went with the DeLorean though.
I'm glad they went with the DeLorean. But yeah, like you said before, the aliens never bothered me.
Yeah, no.
I think I mean the Crystal Skull was just dumb. Like if it would have been a different artifact, I don't know what they would have used. I mean, I think the Crystal Skull is the only thing that I'm aware of that people are like, oh, alien technology kind of thing, other than like maybe the pyramids. So I mean, maybe it would have been cool if he was like in South America or in Central America in the Mayan pyramids and off to find something, then you discover that it was aliens or something.
Yeah.
Aliens didn't bother me because I think a lot of people were like, well, it's not the same because, well, the Ark and the Holy Grail so God exists, so aliens exist now. And I'm like, well, Temple of Doom, you had the magic rock. That existed and had power. So, I mean, right now we got it. I mean, that was a Hindu thing, I think. So, like, you got at least 2 gods. You got Buddha in there. You probably got some Muslim magic somewhere. You got the Latter-day Saints rocking it out. You got, I'm sure there's a bunch of different variations and
All sorts of stuff.
all sorts of gods. You probably got the Greek gods. They're probably a thing, and they're all just chilling up there with the aliens.
That's
so I was like, wait, an arc that melts people's faces off, that's believable, but where you draw the line is aliens. So, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So aliens never bothered me. I think but the juxtaposition of 1950s, because 1950s you think of like the G-Men character. So you had the janitor from Scrubs in there at the beginning, and kind of more you get the hot rodders and the preppies and everything else. Mixing that with the visual aesthetic of Indiana Jones, which is more 30s and 40s, I think probably threw some people off. So just saying that, I don't know how Dial of Destiny will do, because I think, what's that, the 70s?
I think late 60s or late 70s. Something like that. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I think it's like 68 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't looked too much into the movie because I don't want to.
I don't want to either. I was kind of surprised. I remember everyone complaining that Harrison Ford was too old, but obviously I've seen him now, and he looks fine. Looked good in this. I thought he was fine.
Yeah.
He didn't look too old to me.
Yeah. I mean some of the running, the stuntman I think did a great job.
Yeah.
Doing his run.
Sure.
Because when they're in the warehouse and he whips the light and he goes to swing onto the truck, like the way he's running on top of those boxes, like, God, I was like, yeah, that's a 60-year-old run.
Yeah.
And the guy swings, so I was like, oh, that's a pretty good run.
Yeah.
Pretty good old run that guy had.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, I thought all the stunts worked. There was a couple weird cuts that you could tell that they were just kind of playing with it, which is fine. You have to do that. But no, I thought he looked great in this. He moved well.
Yeah.
And
he didn't feel old when he's like just being there talking, working. Like when he's getting scrubbed down from after the nuclear fallout. I'm like, oh, he looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't look like frail or anything.
And actually, his measurements, like he fit in the same costume.
Wow.
Like they didn't have to alter it at all.
Wow. That a boy. Does his Kegels?
Yeah. His Pilates.
His Pilates.
And
which isn't Harrison Ford in like tantric sex, or is that Sting? I don't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
Who knows? I know he's got an earring, so he's all hippy dippy.
Oh yeah, smoking weed.
Dude, Harrison Ford had an earring before having an earring was cool.
Yeah,
it was back in like the 80s.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I'm like, sure you want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like some people could pull it off. I don't think Harrison Ford's one of the people
either.
that can pull it off.
No, definitely not.
But
I thought and then another, I guess, criticism I have is the art of, like, I didn't understand why the Crystal Skull was hard to find, because it seemed like the aliens wanted to be complete. So why would you make it difficult to find, like, the Holy Grail or the Lost Ark or whatever if you want to be whole so that you can fly off in your flying space disc? And I don't know. It felt different because, like, with the Ark and with the Holy Grail, there was this promise of, like, power. Like, if you find this, you're, like, all powerful. There's there's a benefit to you. Did they really communicate what the benefit was of bringing this back to its rightful place? I don't think they really explained. I mean, I guess the Russian lady was like, "Oh, you'll learn knowledge or something," but
they didn't. The only thing they referenced, because they talked about a city of gold,
right,
or treasure, and then at the end they say, "Oh, knowledge was the real treasure,"
which was very Saturday morning special.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Grandpa.
Thanks.
Go sleep on your couch. But yeah,
it's not what you know, it's who you know.
And
because Dad.
And that's the thing is that there wasn't a clear reason, because when they talked about it earlier in the movie, they were just talking about like El Dorado, City of Gold, and some myth about some treasure or something like that. And I'm like, okay. So I mean, I guess it just wasn't as clear.
Because I got to admit, I was lost. Like, I'm like, why are they bringing this back to why are they doing this again? Why don't they just throw the skull out?
It just said return in the wall. was like return,
Oh.
return, and I'm
Like, why are you doing that?
yeah, like
Just-
how about we not?
How about you just bury the crystal skull in a ditch somewhere in
Yeah.
the middle of the jungle and then just leave?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Why are you doing this again?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
all very
he looked
confusing.
into the skull and he's like, it told me to.
Oh,
kind
that's
of a
right.
thing. So I guess maybe he would slowly go mad. If
Well,
he
that's
didn't,
just
but
dumb.
They really didn't explicitly say that.
Yeah.
I guess they inferred it, which last episode we were talking about how it infers, but this is just sloppy writing.
Yeah. It
Because
is.
we don't like it. If we like the movie, then it would be genius.
That's true. It helps you fill in the mental gaps if you actually like the movie.
Instead of just shitting on everything.
I
Like, why
know.
the fuck are they doing that?
Yeah.
That's dumb.
But, I mean, moral of the story is the things that I remember people not liking about it, I actually didn't mind. I just like a lot. I hate a lot of stuff that people never talked about.
Yeah. And I don't know.
And that, I got to say, the Dovchenko, like the Russian henchman, his name's Igor Shinkin.
Mm-hmm.
God, he's aggressively Russian.
Yeah, he is.
He's like, if you were to make a Russian, he looked like a caricature of a Russian. He was so Russian.
Yeah.
He just had the, like the square chiseled jaw and like the tiny, tiny eyes.
He looked like
that
an older
pierce through your
version
soul.
of Dolph Lundgren from Rocky IV.
Yeah.
So
I don't know where they found that guy, but man,
yeah.
that was
There's
good
a couple.
casting.
There was one guy that I noticed. I don't even know if he had a line, but he was in the opening scene, and then he was a little bit later on in the movie too. I forget this guy's name, but he was in Deadwood. He always plays a Russian. Hold on a sec.
Oh yeah. Ilya Volok. Yeah. He was in Ghost Protocol, Air Force One.
Yep.
He does play the Russian.
He was in there. He's the guy that like shakes his head in the car,
Yeah.
telling the guy not to race the
Yeah.
kids. Which
Yeah.
I like that moment. I remember chuckling at the theater the first time I saw that. He just like looks over at his CEO and he's like,
Yeah.
no, and then he does it anyways. But
Yeah.
things I liked about this movie.
Okay. Yeah.
I liked Karen Allen. Not a fan of her character.
Yeah.
But I thought she did a good job going back into that character after not playing her for almost 40 years or
30 years.
30 years. And so I enjoyed her in it. I thought Cate Blanchett was fine. She's phenomenal in everything. It's just that she is so good at acting, period, that I felt like they didn't really write her character well in the movie. Because I'm like, well, she wasn't that memorable.
Yeah.
And
She isn't really that memorable. No.
she's not. And she's definitely probably my least favorite villain.
Yeah.
For that reason. And it's not her fault because she's Galadriel. She's played Hepburn in The Aviator. I mean, like everything she's in, she just nails. And she's very, very good. And this movie, I was just like, that's a waste. So I was disappointed that, but I mean, I think she did fine with what was written.
She really chomped into her wubble-woos, as he said.
Eastern Ukraine. What else? I thought Indy. I thought Harrison Ford did good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think parts of his character, though, I think just weren't earned. Like him immediately becoming like, oh, you're going back to school.
Yeah.
And like that's shit writing. But yeah, that would be the only thing is like his character I wasn't a fan of, but he acted like he still like it felt like an older Indy.
Yeah.
I liked how because he actually insisted not to dye his hair because he wanted to show his age.
Sure, yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Love that decision. And James Broadbent was okay. He had a small part, but yeah,
It's really tough.
I mean,
isn't it,
all the
Jack?
acting. I mean, all the acting was fine.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing was just too cartoony. No, I mean,
Very.
and not just with how it looked because of everything shimmering and looks glossy, but
The dialogue, the story,
the dialogue, the story,
the choices.
Yeah.
It was bad.
I like the. What did I like?
It's so
The motorcycle scene. I was watching that. I was like, they're not even like they're on it. Like maybe they rode a motorcycle, maybe they rode it at low speeds.
Yeah.
But the thing that was killing it for me, I was like, there's no wind. There's almost like it felt like they just had a fan blowing in front of them.
Yeah.
And because I mean their clothes weren't whipping, like it's not like they were going super fast, and I don't. It just didn't. I don't know.
It felt off. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't feel real.
Didn't feel real. So Jay, with all that being said, everything we just talked about,
Yes.
and what I hated the most about it was it didn't feel real. With the previews you've seen of The Dial of Destiny, which is the next movie that we're gonna review on this podcast, do you feel good about
No, because it
that?
still has that same look.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is, they said like, oh, we shot this on 35mm film. Kingdom. We shot Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls on 35mm film, so we could maintain the same look. Like you did not do that at all. Like it didn't look the same movie. It didn't even look the same genre.
Mm-hmm.
Like it looked like a comic book.
Yeah.
And even some of them say like, oh yeah, we got that comic book look, and I'm like, but it didn't look like a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like an adventure, like it looked like an adventure film. Like if someone was out shooting a documentary, like it almost looked more documentarian, not with the camera angles and everything else, but just the look of it. It looked a lot more real.
Yeah.
But yeah, with what I seen of Dial of Destiny, like it still has that same shimmer and that weird
glow. A lot of CGI.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm clinging to the
everything
hope.
looks soft.
Right. I'm clinging to the hope that the story's at least good, and like I said, I hope the dialogue is earned, the situation is earned, it makes sense. The artifact is fun. There's some stakes to make up for. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe the visuals will be good, but from what I've seen, I'm like, oh god, this is reminding me of Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
And all too much CGI.
Yeah, it looks too polished.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like it might be missing the grit.
But we'll see.
Yeah. Last bit about Kingdom, and
Sure.
then I want to talk about one or two predictions I have. For,
Okay.
So last bit of Kingdom, the Communist Party of Russia asked to ban this movie or censor this movie because it portrayed communist Russia in a poor light.
Okay.
Yeah, no one gave a fuck. No one responded to those, so fuck that. But I found that funny. I was like, oh, you guys think you still matter. I was like, you know the fucking wall came down in like 89, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work, guys.
There's
Move on.
McDonald's. Who said it? Once McDonald's enters your country, you're fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
So, yeah, they can kick fucking rocks. But, so, Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
So, every single Indiana Jones movie starts off with the Paramount logo.
Yep. What's it going to transition
then
to?
It dissolves into a mountain. Now.
Which? Well, it's not a prairie dog mountain. Like what kind of mountain?
Well, here's the thing.
Uh-huh.
Disney now owns it, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be doing the distribution. However, I don't know if Paramount's involved or not, because originally, back in the late 70s or early 80s when they did the contract, they actually did a contract. Paramount did a contract for 5 films. So I don't know if Paramount will actually have their logo in this or not. So if they use the Paramount logo, what do you think it'll dissolve into?
Just a large steaming pile of shit.
I like it. That's one option.
I don't know.
I think if it's a Paramount logo, an hourglass with the sand dropping
Oh, look at you.
kind of forming a mountain. That just occurred to me
you
too.
clever
I was like,
bastard.
I was like, that's not going to be a mountain. They've done a mountain. They did a gong. They did a prairie dog. They did a mountain in Utah. And I was like, wow, what's it going to be? And then Dial of Destiny, one of the popular theories is that has to do with time travel.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Which I hope it doesn't, but if they do, I hope it's just I hope they handle it well, but we'll see.
It's time travel.
I know.
Every movie's been doing it. It works, Jay. They're not original in Hollywood.
But
I'm half expecting a fucking multiverse version of Indy.
That's my thought. Is it'll be an hourglass.
That's actually, I will be disappointed if it's not an hourglass. That's a
pretty
really
good idea.
That's a
I
very
just
good
farted
idea.
that shit out too.
That is
took
that is
me
a
all
phenomenal
30 seconds while I was asking you. I was
Goes
like,
to
shit,
show
what
how
I was
easy
like,
this fucking shit is.
We don't prepare for these shows, guys.
Yeah.
So it's like
They just come.
yeah,
right?
we
the
come
ideas just
up with the questions, and while he was answering, I was like, fuck, what do I?
No, I
what
would
am
be
I gonna
disappointed if it doesn't. That's a good idea.
say? Should be.
That is really.
Now the other option is they don't use the Paramount logo, and it's the Disney castle, and they dissolve the castle into something, which the easy opt out would be a castle.
A castle. Yeah.
Which could, because they're bringing back the Nazis.
Uh-huh.
It could be like a castle in Germany somewhere.
Right. Or the same castle from the Last Crusade. Call back to that for whatever reason.
Hey, remember this?
Remember this, guys? You like this movie? Remember, you're gonna love this one.
If you like that movie, buckle up.
Buckle up, Buttercup. You're in for a sweet spin here, baby.
So,
yeah.
Have you, other than trailers, have you?
No, I refuse to.
Yeah.
No. I'm not going to read any early reviews because I don't trust anybody who sees a movie 2 weeks before it's released.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that smells of conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already seeing reviews on YouTube about the Dial of Destiny from like channels with like over 2 million subscribers, like the usual YouTube reviewers. I'm like, I don't trust anything that they say. You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to shit on it? And then they're not going to get invited to the next early premiere.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just don't.
Yeah.
Just going to avoid it until I actually watch it.
Yeah. Which we'll say this now: if we ever get invited to a premiere, we will give it nothing but positive reviews.
Nothing but positive
It'll be
reviews.
the biggest
man.
dog shit. Hey, we like free shit, but we need a little bit more followers for that. So,
I know. I didn't say that I fault them for it. I'm just saying that I know where you're coming from here, and I know it's not genuine.
Yeah. No, we will never see an early release because we probably would shit on it if it was a dog shit turd. But yeah, I haven't either. I watched, I think, the 2 trailers they released or whatever.
Come out, yeah.
I'm interested. Like, are you looking forward to it at all?
No. If I'm being honest, no. I'm not expecting it to be very good.
I'm not. I want it to be good. I hope it's
too.
good.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. I am looking forward to some of the action scenes. James Mangold, at least in the past, I like the way he has used CGI in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ford v Ferrari. He does the small shit. Like he adds cones. Like when they're taking the Ford GT out for a spin, and he's like, Matt Damon is driving Ford Jr. or whatever.
Yep.
Whatever. Driving, and he just added cones in those shots, and it just because the camera was following, and they didn't have to run over orange pylons and everything, but just adding small shit like that just kind of like amps it up a little bit, increases the speed. I'm looking forward to seeing what the action set pieces. I hope it's kind of grounded a little bit like that. I don't know. There's a sequence I saw in the trailer on a train that looked 100% real.
Yeah, it looked
piece
dark.
Of shit. Yeah, dark,
like
muddled.
really dark.
Was snow there?
Yeah,
probably.
there's a lot of
There's
snow.
got to be some particles to cover up the fucking.
It's snowing. But I mean, I loved. That's what's disheartening because I want it to be good because I love James Mangold.
Mm-hmm.
He's made.
He has.
Logan is probably my favorite. Might be one of my favorite superhero movies ever made.
Yeah.
Walk the Line is awesome. I love Identity. I like 310 to Yuma. I mean, he's made some great movies.
310 to Yuma is
awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what he does. I hope. I mean, the de-aging looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand, I guess a good portion of the beginning of the movie takes place with him being de-aged. I just hope it's not so good that it's like, kind of wish the whole movie was him de-aged back in the 30s. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
But
if there's a large portion of the movie, like say, I don't know, a 10-minute scene with him de-aged, I hope they do a better job than they did with The Irishman, where just the physics, because like there's an infamous scene where Robert De Niro's beating up a guy.
Oh yeah,
but he's like,
he's got
it's like
T-Rex arms.
It's like 80-year-old Robert De Niro trying to beat up a guy. It doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know if Harrison Ford was acting in those scenes or if they used a double.
They should use a double. Why
they
wouldn't
should
you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
I mean, you're fucking replacing the face, anyways.
Might as well.
I mean, but I would imagine you would shoot two different scenes, very, very similar.
Yep.
Because if you're going to spend that money doing it, I imagine you would just set up your camera the same way.
Yeah.
And then you'd have Harrison Ford act his way, and then you have the double in there mimicking the movements.
Yep.
Just to make it easier to.
I did hear that with reshoots and all that, this is like one of the top 2 most expensive movies ever made. It's like north of $300 million. Oh my god! Yeah, because there's rumblings that it needs to make like $900 million worldwide in order to break even with marketing costs. And
I don't know if that's going to
no,
happen.
they're like panicked.
If it's good,
yeah.
If it's a good movie, it'll get there.
Yeah,
because if it's not going to be a Last Crusade. Like, I'm not going in thinking it's going to be a Last Crusade caliber, but if it's, even if it's Temple of Doom, like,
yeah,
if it's anywhere close to the original 3, I'm going to go see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'll probably just go see it with my dad whenever he wants to go. And, but yeah, I don't.
It's tough. Well, none of them made $900 million worldwide.
Yeah. Well, the ones in the 80s.
Sure.
They usually Last Crusade made 4 times its budget.
That's good.
So, if this makes 4 times its budget, then it's good. But I don't know.
Who's the head of Lucasfilm? Kathleen Kennedy, I think.
Yes.
Oh boy. With what she's done with Star Wars and now, Willow and now, dude, if she's, oh boy, oh boy.
I would say, well, she's been involved with Indy since I believe Temple of Doom, so she knows what she's doing. But I also was super excited when she took over for Lucasfilm. When Lucasfilm was bought out by Disney, and I was like, oh, they put Kathleen Kennedy. I was like, great.
Yeah.
And I saw The Force Awakens. I was like, okay. And I saw The Last Jedi. I was like, fuck this. Fuck this. This is so fuck.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so Kingdom of the Crystal Skull made $786 million worldwide 10 years ago. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think this, sadly, I think, and maybe deservedly so, I don't know, but
I like the poster. Dial Destiny poster. Looks kind of cool.
Yeah. It's Photoshop, but
I like Mads Mikkelsen.
I do like Mads Mikkelsen.
So we'll see how he is.
Antonio Banderas is in there too?
He's in there. I like him. we're fucking grasping at straws.
Karen Allen I think is in it again.
That'd be cool.
She comes back.
I didn't know that. We'll see. Maybe I want to be pleasantly surprised. I don't like spending money on things that suck, so we'll see.
Yeah. I
wasn't expecting Top Gun Maverick to be my favorite movie last year, like at all.
That's Tom Cruise though.
At all. I was not anticipating that. So if I can just get a solid Indy movie, that'd be fine. It doesn't need to be better than Last Crusade or Raiders. Just
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the best one. I just think, Salah's back.
Yeah. Maybe he's got like 5-minute part.
I kind of want Short Round to show up.
That would be so cool. Yeah. Remember him, guys? Just bring everybody back.
Bring them all.
Don't worry about the plot. Don't worry about the plot. We got look, Short Round.
Jones and Friends.
Yeah.
You call him Dr. Jones.
You call him Dr. Jones. Yeah.
Um.
Well, anything else on the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? And do you recommend it, Jay?
If you're a completionist,
yes.
Then yes. I like it fine. It's not this. There's just something missing, and it's not so much that it ruins the rest of the movies or anything like that. It's just I think that Steven Spielberg, when he directed this movie, he was entering the age of realism. And because The Dark Knight came out the same year as this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that he couldn't direct action. It didn't feel like his heart was in it, just because because originally they wanted to do a lot of things practically. And then it just kind of, I would do that in CG, do that in CG, do that. I just feel like they were compromising on the quality. And maybe because they thought it would be easier and they think, oh, well, the technology got here enough, it'll look good. It felt like the passion wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what I'm hoping James Mangold will bring to Dial of Destiny. Like just a want to make a good indie film. But I don't know if he didn't lose his touch with action, because when did War of the Worlds come out?
2004.
That was like 4 years. Yeah, 4 years before this, and
Minority Report.
And those I felt were good. I mean, but you also cared about the characters, and I think that was probably where this one fell through. Is like you really didn't. I mean, Shia LaBeouf did a good job, but I didn't care about Mutt. Like he was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I'm a tough guy. I'm like, all right, dude, you're like 5 foot tall. Like, I don't know. I don't. When I think of Indiana Jones, I don't think of this movie really. Yeah. Not that you can't watch it. I mean, if you like the character, sure, I guess. Harrison Ford does a fine job. It's just the story's not as good.
Here's what I'll say about it.
What are you gonna say about it?
All right,
because I'm just I'm grasping at whatever.
You are.
I can find.
Jesus, you're juggling over there.
Fucking.
You just love the character so much that you want it to be good. You're
I'm apologizing.
You're talking
for
it
crap.
into existence. Yeah,
it's not crap, but it's.
So I wouldn't recommend it if you hadn't seen Indy at all. And am I going to say you need to watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? No, I'm not going to say that. So no, in that aspect, I wouldn't recommend it. But like you said, if you're a completionist, the only way I would watch this movie again is if I watched the first 3 again, and I was like, well, now I got to watch this one because it's the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Just not going to stop watching.
Yeah.
I'm not ever going to put on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull just to watch it on a Saturday.
Yeah, it won't be like a solo play. Like,
No.
oh, I want to watch a Jones movie. Kingdom.
Yeah.
No, that's never going to happen.
No.
It'll always be right after Last
Exactly.
Crusade.
Yep.
And I'll watch it again.
I'm sure.
Just like it. I mean,
you're gonna hate fuck it. Oh boy.
I mean, they're going to come out with a new box set in 4K.
That's what you're going to do.
Once Dial of Destiny comes out, and I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
They
got you by the balls, man.
They do. And
real hard.
And it's fine. It's definitely number 4 on the fucking list. And it's far, far number 4. I hope Dial of Destiny replaces it as number 4. I hope it
replaces Temple of Doom.
Oof. Yeah.
That'll be tough.
It'd be tough, but I'll watch them. I mean, the character, I like the character so much, I'm willing to watch a 2-hour shit.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. That's what we've come to at this point, Jay.
And it's not, and it's just I think it's not a bad movie. It's just mediocre. And I think that's the biggest downfall with it, is because people grew up with Indiana Jones and they were expecting the world, and I think it was just a no-win situation. And that's the only reason why Dial of Destiny, I'm tempering my expectations, hoping to be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the early rumblings that I've heard, I haven't read any reviews, but the early rumblings is that it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Or that it makes the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look like the original trilogy or something.
Oh,
and I'm like,
Jesus.
fuck. But everyone is so super positive or super negative anymore that, I mean, all in all, I think this movie, it was just mediocre and it was average.
Yeah.
And it suffered because of that, because I think everyone just had expectations to the top of the mountain, like, oh, he's coming back. And then it's just people built it up in their mind for so long. And I don't know. Other than revamping the story and replaying with the characters a little bit, I think you would have had to have some completely different product to even remotely maybe have a chance. But and maybe they just overthought it. Maybe they overcooked the idea. That maybe there was a good, because originally, like, I think it was Last Crusade. George Lucas wanted to have one take place in a haunted house. Like, that's a bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Just no. It's not in a house. I was like, you already did that with Temple of Doom. That was pretty much a haunted house.
Yeah.
No. And I think maybe they had a good story at some point, but throughout the 15 years they were writing this thing, it probably just got so muddled and lost that they just lost perspective.
Yeah.
And they were probably I know they wanted to make a good one. No one goes into these things wanting to make something that's mediocre, or none of them were hurting for money.
Yeah.
At the time, so I'd like to think that they wanted to make one. And I think maybe they just second guess themselves so much that, like, fuck, I can't do it anymore. But
what I fear, though, is I don't want them to destroy Indy's character, meaning that I don't want him to be like some aging old, like, buffoon who's kind of,
I can't do it anymore.
or just he makes stupid decisions and does stupid things throughout the movie, to where somebody else is like, I have a worry that, like, the new leading lady in the movie is going to, like, lead the adventure, and Indy's kind of dragged along. He's not really leading any of the decision making. He's more of like the sidekick idiot.
Yeah.
And then they're going to try to highlight her to make her more the hero of the movie. But I don't want to see that. I want to see Indy be the hero, make smart decisions, not be a complete buffoon the whole time. Be like he is, and even in the Crystal Skull, he's not an idiot or anything. I mean, he says stupid things, like, that's more of like the dialogue and the, like, you need to go back to school. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah,
and out of place. But for the most part,
it's his character.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's his
like,
character
you could
saying
believe
that.
Indy saying that.
Yes, absolutely.
I think what I agree. I don't want them to. I don't want them to destroy the character. What I do want to see is I want to see an aged version of, like, what kind of person would that person turn into? And I don't know how they're going about it, but I hope that they use, was it Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Yes.
I don't want to say Phoebe Waller-Cates.
Fleabag. I call her Fleabag.
Okay. What I think she is probably going to be, and I hope that she ends up being, she plays the goddaughter, obviously, from the trailers. Get a drink for my goddaughter. No one talks that way. Get a drink for my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
No.
My second cousin twice removed, Steve.
Give me a drink for my ex-college girlfriend's roommate's cousin's son dog babysitter. What I think that what I hope she's there because I imagine that they're going to open it up. I imagine the cold open is probably not going to be some random adventure. It's going to be whatever's related to the overall story. But it's going to be, I imagine the cold open will be Indy being younger and some adventure that he was on previously. And it showed the way I imagine, this is what I hope they do. He's young at the beginning of the cold open. They go to the present day, and he's just apathetic. He's a dean of a college or something. He's just working. He doesn't go on adventures anymore. He doesn't have a spark for life. And then his goddaughter shows up and kind of reinvigorates that. Maybe Karen Allen's just like kind of like, you just sit in a fucking chair. You do like, what do you like? Let's do something kind of thing. And maybe he's like somewhat apathetic, or he's just like yearning for something, or like some kind of regret or whatever. But I hope the way they use Phoebe Waller-Bridge instead of the main hero, like, oh, let's build her up and make Indy look like a fucking idiot. I hope it's more of she's kind of the spark that ignites the sense of adventure in him again, and to where she goes to him needing help, and he's like, really fine or whatever, but then throughout he just gets that spark for life again or something, and he just like turns back into like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So like if they start off to where he's kind of like an apathetic character, I won't be disappointed as long as that's what they're planning. That's the arc. Like, I'm in my sunset years, I'm useless, or like maybe he thinks of that of himself, and then discovers, no, I still have something to offer, kind of a thing. I hope that's the way they go about his character. I hope it's not like how you said, they just destroy the character to where they turn him into a buffoon or an idiot and everything else. I agree. I
cautiously optimistic.
However, if the past is any indicator with how they handle legacy heroes, it's a bad time, Bob.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob. All right. Well, anything else?
No. I think that's it.
Okay.
So by the time this episode airs, it will. Dial of Destiny will be like 3 days away.
That's right.
So we are actually going to have an early episode.
We will.
We are going to see it on the 30th. Center,
center, like normal people do.
Yeah, like a non-psychopath.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna record it
that night. We'll be either pleasantly surprised or.
I hope we're pleasantly surprised. Jesus.
Blah 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 blah. Fuck. Whoa. Yeah, take your teeth back in.
There they are. Pleasantly surprised, or
what's the word? Not angry, just kind of like
indifferent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like I saw that coming.
Yeah. I'm
pleasantly surprised or unsurprised. There we go.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll see. I want to be shocked. I'm
not gonna lie. I am looking forward to it. I like the character so much that it's but just for the sense of it being a new adventure, like I'm eager for that. So
I'm not gonna go into it wanting to hate it. I don't want to hate it. I want to be. There's nothing better than going to a movie.
But you don't want to be like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. And then you go there and like, God damn it.
Yeah, it's the worst. I love the feeling of going into something not expecting it to be as good as like the feeling I had with Top Gun Maverick last year. I was like, I can't believe how good this is. This is unbelievable.
Like the best thing that they could do is the Disney marketing department just sitting out bad vibes for this movie.
Yeah.
And then they just fucking come through with like a haymaker of a film.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, oh, fuck. And like just... but I don't think
that's what they're doing, Jay. That's the long game.
They're the best marketing company in the world, and
who would have thought? The old okey doke, the old rope-a-dope. Yeah. All right.
We will see in 3 to 4 short days.
Till next time, Jay.
Till next time, man.